I want to preface this video by saying that I am a Wonder Woman fan. I have Wonder Woman statues. My wife is a Wonder Woman fan. I have multiple graphic novels. I have, again, Wonder Woman statues that I put in my display case back here. You could also see this signed Wonder Woman picture. That being said, I just watched Wonder Woman 1984, and this movie was terrible. This is a spoiler review. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things, but this movie it's just not good and it's disappointing. This movie faces a lot of the same problems that many DC movies face. Lack of character development, weak villains, and lack of basically villain development. They also love to do this thing where they show you this big baddie that's the arch nemesis, Cheetah, and it turns out that the real version of that baddie is in the movie for like 5 minutes. And it feels like this movie is a cash grab. DC does not want to put the work in to develop characters. Even over the span of a few movies, they don't want to put in the work. They want to get right to the point, and it always falls flat on its face. I'm sorry. This movie is very the story just doesn't flow. The villain, the main villain, if you want to call him a villain, doesn't really it makes sense, but it doesn't. It just doesn't seem like high stakes. So basically, the villain, Max Lord, he is a loser. He has these dreams of grandeur that he wants to be this massive tycoon. And he somehow knows about this gem. Apparently, he fully believes that this gem is going to grant his wish to be all powerful based on a couple different sketches that he has. That's it. All he had to go by was some sketches that he found. And he grants himself to grant other people's wishes, but he talks to them in a way that he'll say, "Hey, you wish this, right?" And they'll, "Yeah, I wish that," and then he gets the wish. But there's always a price to pay. In the first movie, I loved Wonder Woman 1. I thought it was great. There are some, things to Wonder Woman 1 that aren't the best, but it felt very emotional, it felt very deep, it felt in depth. It was, the director did a good job in Wonder Woman 1. Thus, high hopes for Wonder Woman 2. In the first one, everything behind World War I was Ares, the god of war. That's why there was this giant world war, because he was behind the scenes influencing human beings in order to go to war. In this one, it's this god that I don't even really remember, because I was just done mentally. Basically, he grants wishes, and they're always bad wishes, like a monkey's paw. You have to give something up. In Max Lord's case, it was his health. But at some point in the movie, he regained his health because he was taking things from people. There's just so much. I just don't know where to begin in this movie. There's just so much wrong with it. I know this review's all over the place, but literally, I'm like, oh my gosh. So they develop. Okay. Let's go back. So Wonder Woman, she's lonely, right? She's lonely. She misses Trevor, and she wishes that he was back. And she gets a hold of this stone that was from this black market, and she wishes that he comes back to life. Okay? And he does, because that's the whole thing of the movie. And as soon as you see him and they start to develop, you know that she's going to have to give him up. Like, she's going to have to make the choice to give him up for the greater good. And this is exactly what happened. But it didn't feel extremely emotional, just because, I don't know. This is just not a great movie. There's this opening scene where there's these guys in a mall, and you get this really 80s feel because the mall was a big thing back then. But the fighting is just corny. She's swinging like fakely through the mall, back and forth through the mall with her lasso, and the lasso plays a really big role in this. And the lasso's iconic, I get it, but it plays a major role. The only thing she uses is a lasso in this movie, basically. And she's the way she fights the guys it just feels very corny. And maybe the director was going for that, because things in the 80s are kind of very cringe sometimes when you see them, the way people dress and everything. But after that, the movie doesn't really feel 80s anymore. It feels like if the plot took place in 2010 and you just changed everybody's clothes, it'd be the same movie. There's no really 80s feel to it, like at all. Stranger Things does a good job of you making you feel like you're in the 80s, you know? But this movie doesn't. Why is it named 84? You know, why not 85, 86, 88? Like, why 84? Going into this movie, I thought 84 played a role. I thought that something occurred in 84 where really it was a god controlling things in the background, and she has to defeat that god in order to save the world. But I know that's a repeat from one, but it just didn't feel like the 80s after that. You know, it was a reversal of roles where Trevor doesn't understand the world he's in just like she didn't in one, and he couldn't get the technology, but she's up to speed, and it had some, you know, funny stuff. But after that, like, the movie doesn't revolve around the 80s. There's no reason that it needs to be Wonder Woman 84. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Just doesn't. And she gets powers in this one. You know, oh, you know, my father was able to make things invisible. Okay, and I tried it once on a cup. Boom, I can make a jet invisible. It just happened, you know? And then they bloat this movie with just so much stuff. Oh, you can make things invisible. And then, you know, Trevor flies the plane. He says, I love flying, you know, once you understand the wind and everything. And you know, it's very easy. It's very simple. And they had this beautiful scene of them flying the invisible jet through like these fireworks. Nothing to do with the plot. Nothing, has no relevance, but it was a pretty scene. Okay, fine. So she lets Trevor go, you know, she's heartbroken, but she hears his voice in his head and she can fly. That's it. She just flies. The lasso all magically can grab lightning. You know, in the trailer it looked dope, but there's no explanation of why she can all of a sudden grab lightning or why she can all of a sudden fly, you know? She uses the lasso to grab things and pull her, but then there are parts where she's flying like Superman. So which is it? Can she use the lasso to pull her or create like a helicopter effect and fly through the air? And that's how she flies? Or does she legitimately fly? They don't explain that. So she gets a lot of powers through this movie. And the fights, there's almost no fight scenes. It's all development of this Max Lord guy, but you don't really care. You know, I didn't really care. Like, he just seemed like one punch and he would be dead from Wonder Woman. And that's not what happened, but because she defeats him with the lasso by making him see the truth. Like, there were no stakes. I mean, yes, missiles are flying at each other, the world's ending, everybody's about to nuke each other. Yet that felt like, oh man, you know that's the end of the world's occurring because of all these wishes this guy was taking, and he was all taking this evil things were happening. But Wonder Woman didn't really play a giant role in stopping that. You know, she used her lasso to help him see that he really loves his son. I mean, and the development between the father and the son is like laughable, you know? It's like, it felt like Liar Liar, where he was too busy with his job and the kid, you know, never got to spend time with his dad. You know, all he wanted to do is throw the baseball around, but Jim Carrey had a lot of paperwork to do. Like, that's what this felt like. And he tells the kid at one point, hey, stay right here. Don't leave this office. I gotta go. And then he's like, visits the president and gets on a helicopter to this island, has this satellite, and the kid never moves. He doesn't have to pee, he doesn't have to poop, he just stays in the freaking office and just doesn't leave the office until some people like invade, right? They break into the office, so he gets scared and he runs away. Then he's like in the middle of the turnpike somewhere in Washington, D.C., and he's screaming for his dad to help him. This is when his dad realizes, oh man, my son. I mean, I don't know how many hours have gone by. I don't know if it's been days. It was nighttime at one point when Wonder Woman was fighting Cheetah while this guy was doing all this wish stuff. But the kid was still screaming for his dad on the turnpike in the middle of the day. When the bad guy realizes that, oh, I love my son, I can't be doing this, and just runs away, he magically goes to the one spot in an entire metropolitan area where his kid's hiding in a bush. Like, what are we doing here? That is just, it's just laughable. I couldn't freaking believe it. Like, I was literally laughing. Like, he calls his son twice, and he's like, Daddy! And he comes out of the bushes. Like, come on. And this guy doesn't go to jail? He doesn't, like, he basically tried to end the world? He just gets away? Like, what? What? You know, the movie started off, like, with her in her past, and she's in this competition, but she cheats, and the point of this whole beginning scene was like, the truth is what matters. Okay. And you learn the lasso is powered by the truth, because it's a powerful thing. That's great. So she's showing people the truth. And I guess that's the main plot of the story. Like, I don't even know. Why can't DC take the time to set up chess pieces in order to get the checkmate? They just want to attack, and they don't take the time to put things together. Now, not all Marvel movies are like that. You know, not all Marvel movies are the best. You know, there are some ones that are like, but DC has a consistent problem. They want to catch up, and WB is just too involved. They're just too involved. They need to let directors have their vision and let it happen. Just trust the director. The woman made Wonder Woman 1, which was a success. It was a great movie. And then I feel like this was corporate involvement. It's not, it's just a bad movie. I'm sorry. It has plummeted in reviews since it came out. It was 89% from critics, you know what I mean. Probably getting paid off or whatever. And then as soon as the people saw it and other people started seeing it, boom, dropped. The movie sets nothing up for the future. There is no hope for the future. Like, and just why call it 1984? Why call it 1984? Nothing to do with the movies except like spandex people working out in the gym and a mall scene. Other than that, it could have occurred in any era. Literally any era. Like, maybe the only reason it's 1984 is because through it you would think, like, where's the Justice League? Like, the world's about to end and Superman's not around? Like, what the heck? But maybe in 1984 he was in high school or something? I think. No, like, he's from the 50s. Like, what? Where's the rest of everybody else? They're just on a holiday? Like, what happened to the writing in this movie? And I hate when they tell you, here's the big baddie, Cheetah, and you're like, oh yeah, Cheetah's our arch nemesis. Great. She's in it for 4 minutes. Literally, like, the character's in it through the whole movie, but Cheetah, fully costumed or CGI Cheetah, she's in it for 4 minutes! 4 minutes! And, like, at the end, she's not Cheetah anymore, because she relinquished her wish to save the world. Come on! Come on! What happened, Patty Jenkins? This does not give me hopes for your Rogue Squadron movie. I'm sorry, I'm done. I can't. I had hopes because of Wonder Woman 1. I was like, okay, you're a good director. No. Maybe you'll have a better deal with Disney because Disney is starting to, like, get it. Like, let fans do what they want to do. If fans have talent and they happen to be a director, let them do what they want to do. The Mandalorian is 100% that occurring. You know? It's fan-freaking-tastic. And it's because Jon Favreau and the whole cast of freaking Taika Waititi and the guy from the Clone Wars. Anyways, they're fans and they made good content. I think WB got involved in this one. I think they made her change the ending. I heard a rumor that it made her change the ending. This review's all over the place. I'm sorry, but it's super frustrating. It's super frustrating. I mean, if you agree with anything I said, leave it in the comments. But super frustrating. Like, it could have been great. It could have been great. It could have been 80s. Could have felt 80s. People love the 80s. They love the 80s. And there's nothing about this movie that feels 80s. Maybe like one or two scenes. One or two scenes. That's it. That's it. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's a bad movie. It's just a bad movie. And I'm sorry. I don't mean to disrespect Patty Jenkins or Gal Gadot. You know, she's great in it. You know, Pedro Pascal's great in it. All the actors play good, but just the material they were given, it's just not good. It's not good. That's it.